Hey folks, we are here at Spoonfest 2019, catching up with different makers and craftspeople and wonderful folk doing wonderful things. I'm here with Lars Laursen. How's that?
That's fine.
Lars is from Denmark?
Yeah.
Great, got that right. And this is your second Spoonfest?
Yes.
Lars is coming over as an instructor. He makes spoons and he does some wonderful stuff with chip carved decoration and carving names. Is that fair? That's a big part of what you do?
I mean, to me, a spoon is like a personal item, so I rarely do a spoon without putting on a name, because it's like a present to someone, a friend, or an order to become a personal gift. And my background as a sign writer makes it easier for me to do that. So learning the woodwork was like natural to do lettering on spoons. And my mentor, Willy Sundqvist, he always did that also. So I'm like trying to bring that tradition one more generation.
Yeah. No, it's great. I've seen some nice photos of old Willy Sundqvist spoons with names on, hanging on spoon racks, and I think that's one of the first images of well-carved spoons that I saw, and I remember those. It's very beautiful and affecting, and that kind of sense of personal connection to the spoons. Yeah. And you used to be a sign writer, and then you got into green woodwork and spoon carving later on?
Yeah. Right. I was so fortunate to have a kind of small apprenticeship work experience at Willy's house for almost 10 weeks. I reckon.
Yeah.
So personal tutor for that long.
Yeah, amazing.
And that quality like rocket my woodworking career.
Yeah. When was that?
It was in 1996, 7.
Yeah, amazing.
So I've been carving. I mean, I'm trying to learn all the other different kinds of woodwork, but spoons I will always do, because it's such a personal thing, and it's also something you can do anywhere, on a train or in your living room. It doesn't need a workshop. So that's nice.
Spoons are a lovely thing. Yeah. Right, well, Lars is going to show us some of his chip carving technique, letter carving.
Yeah.
Whatever he feels like, really, but some of those techniques that he uses and some of that work that he's done. So I will hand you over to Lars and let him take it away.
Good. On these spoons I make, there is room on the front here to carve a name. So if it's a long name, I need a wider spoon. Otherwise I can often, if it's really long name, do it in this on the long side instead, but normally if it goes on a rack or something, it's nice to have it on a short angle here. So this name only contains 3 letters, so I'll have plenty of space to put it on here, the widest area. So this is all drawn by hand, but I guess because of my many years of practice doing lettering, that is okay. But you can copy it from some book and do another way of putting the name on there. But it is nice though to draw it by hand, because it's okay that it's a little off, or if it's a little personal. And then I have a personal style. I try to make it a little alive, the lettering, so it's exciting to look at. Something like this. And then I'd use a chip carving knife, and there's lots of different types of chip carving knives. I prefer this one. It's a it's a man-made blade, but the Dubai chip carving knife I've used for many years, which is a little longer, but it will do the same job. So the angles are a little different. This has been grinded back for many years, so when you buy this Dubai, it's going a little more aggressive to the wood. But I think that's just an advantage. But the best tool is the one you're used to, but it's nice to have a short blade. And then I use only the knife and not the V gouge, because that makes it possible to get different thicknesses. Just have the one cut from the one side, and then opposite, making go off like this. And to make this easier, it's very important to have the right light. And the right light is if it's just 10 degrees off what you're carving. So if you have a light just coming straight at you from the top, it's often difficult to see what you're doing. So it's good to have an extra light just to be able to see where you're going. And then the different V-cuts to make the lettering. And then the fewer cuts you use to do a decoration, the better it is. The less you need to fiddle with it, the more pretty it gets. And I've unfortunately developed a stronger need for glasses, so sometimes I need to put on some extra because this is so small. So now I can do more precise work because I can actually see what I'm doing. So the important thing about carving this is complete control. The brakes should be on the knife. I call it brakes. So you need to be very firmly attached to your thigh so you won't slide away. And then this more small sheriff, I think it's called in English, seriffer in Danish, at the end of each letter. Here I can start with cutting the end grain at the top and the bottom, and this two straight lines. And then the two cuts for the sheriff, not the sheriff. And then there's a little dash on top of the eye. Of course, it's extremely important to as much as possible to go with the grain, like in all wood carving. But sometimes if you go round, the first cut can be a little against the grain, but the more you go with the grain, of course, the better. And like here, I did 3 cuts in a row because my hand is set to the same angle. So to make it efficient, you can do all these 3 cuts at the same time or just after each other, and then it's more likely that they will be symmetrical and follow the same line. And the same when you go the other way, do all 3 cuts. Also to save time, because you don't want to spend all day doing a decoration because you already spend a lot of time doing the spoon. So in average, I spend like just a little more than 3 minutes on each letter to do a decoration. So here is the first curve on this letter, this name, and what is the challenge if you do small lettering? If you have cut some wood away, it's important that once you've done this part of the lettering, if you're doing another cut close to that the first cut will be away from it. So if I were to do a cut that was pointing towards what I've already carved, this chip might fall off because I'm pressing the wood against a place where it's not supported. So I need to do the first cut away from this area where it's already been cut. And this actually is a little against the grain, but the important thing for me is to get a perfect curve. So I want to do this in one stroke. That's more important than going with the grain all the way, because this is with the grain, the last bit. The first bit was a little bit against the grain, but because it was the first cut, it didn't tear out. But when I do the second cut, it's important to go with the grain all the way. So here I'll go against the grain, so I need to turn around and do this, and then the challenge is to meet up with the cut I already made, like that, like this. And then the lettering will stand out more once it's oiled, because now it's difficult to see where the lettering starts and stops, but once you oil it, the end grain will suck more oil and get darker, so it will stand out like this one.
Brilliant. Thanks, Lars. That was great. It's really great to see kind of that process and steps and the control that you have. I guess as with all things, it's kind of practice makes perfect.
Well, that's all that counts. I mean, you just need to practice. And when I started off doing lettering, I was maybe 13 years old, and I hated it because I did not know how to make it look nice. Then by coincidence, I've become a sign writer, and now the thing I used to hate is the most beautiful thing I can look at, because I've learned the skill and I know the rules, and I can make it look nice. But it's only from practice. So and then if you have the ability to turn what you hate into something you like, I mean, you can enjoy what you do. And then it's fun to do something, practicing.
Yeah, and sometimes some of that feeling of, I've done it myself, you kind of have a tendency to say, oh, well, I'm not really into that part of the craft or that technique, that's not my favourite thing to do, I'm not really interested in that so much, and that can kind of come from finding it a bit of an obstacle when you try it first, and sometimes actually it's just getting to a point where you feel like you have some accomplishment and control with it, that enjoyment can really come through. Yeah, and also the self-confidence, believing that you can actually do this cut right, is often a way to do it better, because if you say to yourself, well, I cannot do this cut, I mean, it's almost impossible to do this cut right if you haven't got that confidence. Yeah. So. Yeah. Great. So who's this spoon for? Well, it's for Tim. Yeah. Good on Tim. Because I think he's been running around like a chicken without a head, trying to certainly get everything. Doing lots of work. Tim's been organising a lot of the workshops and everything this year at Spoonfest, so he's been... I think he deserves a spoon. He does, that's good. He'll be happy with that. Good. Yeah. So definitely check out Lars's work. Do you have a website, or you're on Instagram, aren't you? Yeah, I'm on Instagram. Yeah, so we'll put a link to that with the video. Yeah. And check out the other videos we've been doing here at Spoonfest. There's lots of nice stuff going on, and I will catch up with you in one of those.